So following up, Project B now kind of poses an existential threat to not only the WNBA, but Unrivaled. Project B is paying a lot, which is what we assumed. This all started with Saudi-backed league, and that's what got the controversy ball rolling and the speculation ball rolling. And to be honest, I wasn't sure what to make of it. But now it seems like a very, very real thing, particularly with Nneka Ogwumike signing. And there's the message that sends with her being the Players Association president and everything. But then there is the bottom line. Everybody's got a price, as the $1 million man used to say. And, the Saudi backed aspect of it, they're trying to distance themselves from it. They had the AP, or they didn't have the AP. The AP said that, they're not receiving funding from Saudi Arabia, though the technical language, this is the facts as they are, is partnered with Sela, which is an entertainment company owned by the Saudi Public Investment Fund. So make of that what you will. Anyhow, Project B is founded by former Facebook executive and the co-founder of Skype. And they've got the investors, as I've mentioned before. Candace Parker is one of them, Novak Djokovic, Sloane Stevens. So it's some big-time investors involved as well. But the salary is what is truly staggering, and the thing that could change the entire game and the landscape. This is from Andy Costabile, Front Office Sports. You see the numbers here. The same sources said multiple stars are being offered seven-figure salaries starting at $2 million annually, with their earnings for multi-year deals reaching 8 figures. In addition, players will receive equity in the league similar to Unrivaled. See at the top there, other WNBA players have already signed deals to play in Project B, multiple sources told Front Office Sports. So a couple of important details there. One, more signings are on the way. Two, they're getting paid. And getting paid at a level that so far exceeds the WNBA. The WNBA has the branding. The WNBA has the history. And I'm not saying the WNBA is going away or anything like that, but, eventually the rubber meets the road. So depending on how the CBA negotiations go and depending on how this league evolves, if there is a league that pays you 3 times as much or 4 times as much or whatever the case may be, whatever the multiple is, which one are you going to choose? Which one are you going to choose? And that's what eventually it could come down to. Now, Project B is playing a season that does not conflict with the WNBA season, mind you. As of now, it does run in the offseason. Now, what it does conflict with is Unrivaled. And Unrivaled, started with equity and paying a much higher rate. Now, the advantage for Unrivaled is it's in the States, it's in Miami, it's very low workload, relatively speaking, the amount of time and the commitment. There's also basketball training involved, but that's the first thing that I think could be in the sights of Project B, depending on how all things shake out. Because if they're coming in the door offering more than Unrivaled and equity, and their seasons conflict, how does that figure itself out? Now, we know Nafisa Collier and Brianna Stewart are invested in Unrivaled, but that is, or co-founders, that is a serious subplot. Now, Unrivaled has already announced its team for this season. It's got a long list of investors. It seems to be in a good spot after the first year. Obviously, new players, commitments from the likes of Paige Beckers, so on and so forth. But you can't, just be like, oh, they can't feel great about this. Got to be real. I think that's the first threat or the first thing that Project B could eventually or soon unravel is Unrivaled. So that's something to monitor and watch as this all unfolds. And then there's the next logical step beyond that, which is indeed the WNBA. And the WNBA and its players, maybe they just reach a deal in short order and all of this is settled, right? But as of now, the salaries that are being offered, the supermax for the WNBA is $249,000. This is offering $2 million a year with multi-year deals worth 8 figures. and more players on the way. Now, I've said before, and everybody knows, so much comes down to Caitlin Clark, who has on the record over and over and over and over again talked about how she wants little girls to emulate her, or is proud to be a role model, essentially, embraces the role of role model, and that it has been her dream to play in the WNBA, and that she wants it to be the dream of the next generation to play in the WNBA as well. So I don't, unless there's a massive overhaul or change in her thinking based on her experiences in the league, or just a number that no one can believe, I have to imagine she remains the linchpin for the WNBA and women's basketball. And therefore, it doesn't matter how much money is thrown at anybody else. If Caitlin Clark's playing in the WNBA and not playing in any other league, the WNBA is the biggest league. But that doesn't mean the WNBA can't leak. And when you see players already signing up for Project B, and we have the uncertainty of the CBA negotiations, it's clearly something interesting to monitor, because WNBA women's basketball is in a different place than most of the other major leagues in America, where those other leagues were already compensated so heavily. And you saw in golf, in the PGA Tour, guys walk to go to live golf for more money, but the PGA Tour was still paying handsomely. The WNBA is starting from a low floor. So, you already had players going overseas. Diana Taurasi once didn't play a year in the WNBA to play overseas. So there's a precedent for it. It's not as if it's something brand new. And you had Unrivaled sprout up. And now, so women's basketball is hot. You see it. That's why the WNBA CBA negotiations are so heated. That's what caused the formulation of Unrivaled. That's what has caused the formulation of Project B. But because of the history and the lack of success, at least just relative to now, but really the lack of general success and revenue in the past, the salaries aren't hard to beat. And color me intrigued. Let's put it that way. I'm not going to make any bold, declarative statements like the WNBA is destroyed or anything like that. Again, I think the most imminent threat is to Unrivaled, but you cannot rule out the possibilities when it comes to Project B, especially if they're going to offer salaries that are clearly in the A range.